Good morning, Ariel here. Wanting to talk about intimacy. I've been getting recently. I've been learning some things about myself. In order to be authentic in with someone else, you have to first learn to be authentic with yourself. So, basically, if you want to have a relationship or a certain type of relationship, you have to understand where you are as a person. So for me, I guess you would say I'm deconstructing what I know of myself, or I'm learning about what I know of myself and finding what I would like to improve upon, or what is it I would like to change about myself. So yesterday morning, I I was in meditation, and I was thinking or pondering on what does my best relationship look like, or what does a feminine and masculine relationship look like to me. And I was thinking, and it didn't take long before I thought of my grandparents. So my grandparents, to me, I would say they were kind of the epitome of what I would think a male female relationship should be. They were such a loving pair to each other. Like, their energies were just like always loving toward each other. I mean, don't get me wrong, they had their disagreements, but they did it on a whole nother way than, I I did when I was in relationships in the past, or you know or unlike any relationship I can even recall from past times of relatives or whatever, or my mother and my father and their significant others. But what came to mind was this thought of when I was younger. My grandmother used to always get up at 4:30 a.m. to make my grandfather breakfast. And it was just a thing. We knew it was going to happen. So everybody would wake up once they smelt the, they weren't, once we smelt the, whatever was being cooked that day, so whether it be sausage or, yeah, back in the day, I think she did make bacon a time or two. I don't recall, but she would make the food, and she had these biscuits we would call the mile high biscuits, because they were so, like, literally they were like at least 6 inches high when they rose up in the oven. They were delicious, perfect, always perfect. My grandmother was a very immaculate woman in every sense of the word. Everything she did was flawless. Yeah, we may be a little biased, but even other people growing up were enamored with her, because she was just that kind of female. She was just like a super hero of some sort. And so was my grandfather. But I'm sitting here and I'm pondering and I'm thinking about it in my times before I go to work, because I sit and I go somewhere and I'll meditate before I start my day with my clients. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about this one particular day. So my grandmother, I wake up, I go into the kitchen, and it would be coffee on the table. She would have the kitchen table made ready for the breakfast. My grandfather had a routine. I would get him the paper. He'd be sitting there reading the paper, and he would be talking about the current events in the paper, whatever was going on. Then there would be a discussion on, any family business that has arisen that needs the elders of the family's attention, or whatever child was having a rough time because their parents were on the outs, or they needed to fine tune their relationship, things like that. Like, my grandfather was the CEO of the family, like legit. Like, he ran a tight ship. Everyone was concerned with how he thought of them as a person because he had that much clout, because he earned it. Like, he earned it. He worked double time, overtime, triple time. For that, he earned it in every sense of the word. So, anyway, we're sitting here and they're having that conversation, and I'm having my milk coffee. Y'all Southerners know what I mean by that. Y'all old school Southerners know what I mean by that. It's just like, okay, milk coffee. Milk coffee is 3 parts milk and 1 part coffee. For you, those of y'all who don't know, like, for those kids that think they're like a little bit more mature than the other kids and they want their coffee, that's what the adults would give you back in the day, the milk coffee. Still smelled like coffee, tastes like coffee. You're in heaven, you think you're doing the dang thing because you're an adult, but you're not. But anywho, back to the story. So this particular day, it was going to be, I had no reason to think it would be like, any different from any other day. So at the end of breakfast, like my grandfather always did, my grandmother would clean up our place settings and commence to cleaning the kitchen for the day to get started on her day. And so my grandfather would always say, "Thank you, Hattie. Thank you. That was a delicious breakfast." Like, he said, some things were like clockwork, but other things weren't with him, because he was like, sometimes he would, trip you up and do something new. So this particular day, he grabbed his paper, threw it under his left armpit, and he made a mad dash for the door. So we're thinking we won't see him for a couple of hours. He's off. He doesn't have work today necessarily. He was a contractor, and he basically what you call the guy that would gather the people that picked the fruit for the farmers at that time. So he would gather up the crew, and then they would go to different states around the country, and that's how he made his money. And he was noted for being one of the better people at that skill. So we just assume my grandfather was always working. He was always hustling. He was always on his grind, on his hustle and flow. There was never a second time that he was not hustling in some fashion or form. So this particular day, he came back in the kitchen, and he stood in the doorwell, and he was a tall man. So, he was a tall man, and he just stood there for a minute, and he looked at my grandmother at the sink. She's washing dishes or whatnot. Like I said, she was cleaning the kitchen. He looked at her, and he said, "I love you, woman." Yeah, just like that. "I love you, woman." And my grandmother never never stopped. She didn't bust her daily routine. She never looked up at him. She never turned around, none of that. She just continued washing dishes. And she said, "Sam, get out of here with that," or something like that, something of that nature. She said, "Get out of here with that, Sam. I know." And he walked over to her. He put his arm around her waist, and he said, "I said, I love you, woman." And she stopped for a little minute, and she did a little chuckle, and she's like, and I guess he still didn't get the reaction that he wanted. And I remember him spinning her around. He grabbed her by her hand, and he's like, did a little dance move kind of thing, because they used to dance in the kitchen too. Those two, oh my gosh, they set a bar that if we in the family could keep that up, we'd have amazing relationships. But he spun her around. He looked deep into her eyes and he said to her, I said, I love you, woman. And I remember as a kid, like watching them and feeling like, man, I am so lucky to have these people in my life, because like it was him wanting her. He was acknowledging that I see you and I see you and I'm speaking to you and I'm letting you know that I see you. I acknowledge you as a woman in my life, like a miraculous woman, beyond words. Like he wanted her to understand when he said, I love you, like he felt it. Like, heck, I felt it. I was just like, I remember, I don't even know why. I don't even know why I'm crying right now, but it was just really beautiful. It was beautiful. And I guess I'm thinking in myself, when I talk about intimacy, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those moments in time where you have a chance to really make a difference in your relationship. You have a chance to make the other person feel your presence and make them understand how much they mean to you and how much you notice what they do for you, and that like you're touched by it, like it's something that you don't want to end, or you acknowledge them and their worth in your life. That is an intimacy. To tell someone how you really truly feel and think about them, and not be afraid to let someone know like they are loved and they are worthy of that love. To me, the gift that my grandparents gave me was active love. It was love in poetry and in motion, like everything they did, from how they talked to each other, from how they moved around each other and in our family. It created such a symmetry of love that it still lives on. Papa, I love you. You're incredible. And Mima, you too, I love you. Y'all live on. Y'all were so incredible. So, I guess I'm coming to the realization that when I say I want a relationship like my grandparents, I want a bunch of little moments that make a big moment mean more. I want my efforts felt, and I want them appreciated in a small way that means so much. Y'all rock, man. Y'all live on forever. Y'all created some pretty awesome people. I wish you could see it. Ariel signing off. Tell somebody today you love them. They may be waiting to hear it, and the relationship you save may be your own. Because at the end of the day, we gotta let other people know they matter in our life. before their presence is no longer there for whatever reason. Yeah, let them know you love them. It only takes a second, but that memory can last forever. Love, peace, and light.